My girlfriend announced at Easter dinner, "We're moving to Paris. I already applied for a job there." In front of my entire family. It was the first I'd heard of it. I said, "Bon voyage." Then I smiled at my mom, finished my dinner, and drove her to the airport with her suitcases that same week. When she realized she was flying solo, original post, I, 30 male, work as a civil engineer for a county public works department. I design drainage systems, review development plans, inspect infrastructure projects. It's not sexy. Nobody's making a movie about stormwater management. But it's stable, it's pensioned, and after 5 years, I'm vested and earning $78,000 with a clear path to senior engineer within 3 years. I own a condo. I have a truck that's paid off. I coach my nephew's little league team on Saturdays. My entire life, my career, my family, my roots, is here. I'm not saying that to sound boring. I'm saying it because it matters for what comes next. My now ex-girlfriend works in fashion marketing. She's good at it, creative, driven, always networking. She graduated with a communications degree, did internships in brand marketing, and has been working at a mid-tier fashion company for about 3 years. She's ambitious in a way that I admire in theory, but that in practice means she's always looking at the next thing. The current thing is never enough. There's always a better city, a better job, a better opportunity. She once described her career as a launch pad, not a landing pad. I thought that was clever when she said it. Now, I realize it applied to everything in her life, including me. We've been together for 2.5 years. Lived separately. She had a studio apartment. I had my condo. We talked loosely about moving in together, but never pulled the trigger because she kept saying she wanted to wait until the timing felt right. I now understand that the timing was her getting an offer somewhere else and needing me to follow. Background on Paris. She has been obsessed with Paris for as long as I've known her. She took French in college. Her apartment was decorated like a Parisian cafe. String lights, Eiffel Tower prints, French press coffee, croissants on weekends. She talked about living there someday with the certainty of someone describing a fixed future, not a dream. I always treated it the way you treat someone's aspirational talk. Like when your buddy says he's going to restore a '69 Camaro someday. You nod. You support. You don't actually expect to wake up one morning and find a Camaro in the garage. Easter Sunday. My mom hosts every year. Big dinner. The whole family, my parents, my older brother and his wife, my younger sister and her husband, my grandmother, my nephew. About 12 people total around a big table with too much food. My girlfriend had been coming to family events for 2 years. Everyone liked her. My mom especially. She's the one who suggested I bring her to Thanksgiving the first year we dated. Dinner was going fine. Ham, scalloped potatoes, green bean casserole, the works. We were between the main course and dessert. My grandmother was telling a story about my grandfather that she's told 100 times, but everyone laughs anyway, because she's 84 and she earns the repeat. Then my girlfriend stood up, literally pushed her chair back and stood. She had her wine glass in her hand. My brother looked at me like, is she about to make a toast? I had no idea what was happening. She said, I have some exciting news I want to share with everyone. My mom smiled. My sister leaned in. My grandmother stopped mid-story. Everyone was looking at her. We're moving to Paris. I applied for a position at a fashion house there, and I just got the call back for a final interview. If it works out, we'll be relocating this summer. She was beaming. Full megawatt smile. She looked at me like she expected me to jump up and hug her. Like this was a gender reveal party and Paris was the baby. The table went quiet. Not the good kind of quiet. The kind where everyone's eyes move to the person who should be reacting, and that person is sitting very still with a fork in his hand. I had never heard about this application. I had never been consulted about moving to Paris. I had never agreed to relocate to another continent. The first I learned that we were moving to France was at Easter dinner on my mother's table, in front of my entire family, with scalloped potatoes on my plate and my grandmother 2 feet to my left. She'd ambushed me, publicly, in the one setting where she knew I wouldn't make a scene, in front of my mother. Everyone was staring at me. I could feel my brother's wife's eyes burning a hole in the side of my head. My mom's smile had frozen in that polite way it does when she's confused but doesn't want to be rude. I set my fork down, took a breath, looked at my girlfriend. And I said, Bon voyage. She laughed. A short, confused laugh. What do you mean? I mean bon voyage. Good luck. That sounds like an amazing opportunity for you. For US. You said you applied. You got the call back. You made this plan. I didn't. So, bon voyage. The table was so quiet, I could hear the ice shifting in my grandmother's water glass. My girlfriend's smile was still on her face, but it wasn't reaching her eyes anymore. She sat down slowly. My mom, bless her, said, "Who wants pie?" And the dinner lurched back to life like someone had kicked a stalled engine. My girlfriend didn't speak for the rest of dessert. I helped my mom wash dishes. My brother pulled me aside in the kitchen and said, "Did you know about any of that?" I said no. He said, "That's what I thought." Then he dried a casserole dish and didn't say anything else because that's how my brother handles things. The car ride home was silent for about 12 minutes. Then she started, "You humiliated me. I didn't announce a life-altering decision in front of your family without telling you first. I wanted it to be a surprise. I wanted to share the excitement with the people we love. Surprises are birthday parties and puppies, not international relocations. You don't surprise someone with a move to another continent. You didn't even let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You applied for a job in Paris without discussing it with me. You announced it publicly to force my hand. You wanted me to be so swept up in the moment and the family pressure that I'd go along with it. That's not excitement. That's manipulation." Manipulation? I'm trying to build us a life. You're trying to build you a life and drag me along as a prop. She didn't respond to that. We drove the rest of the way in silence. I dropped her at her apartment. She slammed the car door. I went home. Update 1, 5 days later. A lot has happened. I'm going to try to keep this structured because my brain has been going in 6 directions at once. The Monday after Easter, she called me. Calmer than I expected. She said she understood that the timing of the announcement was not ideal, but that the opportunity was real and she needed me to take it seriously. She said the final interview was in 9 days. If she got the offer, the start date would be August 1st. She said this was the kind of opportunity that doesn't come twice and that she needed to know if I was in or out. I told her I was out, not because I don't support her career, not because Paris isn't a cool city, because she applied for a job in another country without discussing it with me, announced it publicly to pressure me, and was now giving me an ultimatum with a deadline. Every step of this process had been designed around her timeline, her goals, and her assumption that I would follow. At no point in this entire sequence, the application, the callback, the announcement, did she ask me what I wanted. She said, "So you're choosing your drainage ditches over our future?" I said, "I'm choosing my career, my family, my home, and my self-respect over being a supporting character in your movie." She hung up. Tuesday, she got strategic. She called my mom. My mom told my mom that I was throwing away the chance of a lifetime and that she hoped my mom would help him see the bigger picture. My mom, who has known me for 30 years and raised me to make my own decisions, told her, "I love you, sweetheart, but if my son says no, it's no. I don't get involved in his decisions, and neither should I." My mom called me after telling me about it. She said, "That girl called me like I'm customer service for your relationship." I laughed for the first time in 3 days. Wednesday, my girlfriend escalated. She sent me a 12-page PDF. I'm not exaggerating. 12 pages. She put together a full presentation, a pitch deck, basically, for the Paris move. It included cost of living comparisons, apartment listings, job board for civil engineers in France, a section on how my PE license could potentially transfer with additional exams, photos of the neighborhood near her potential office, a list of English-speaking social groups for expats, and a final slide that said, "Our adventure starts now," with a photo of us from a vacation 2 summers ago. 12 pages. And somehow she'd had time to build this deck, but not time to have a single conversation with me before Easter dinner. I didn't open it past the first page. I texted her, "I appreciate the effort, but my answer hasn't changed. This is your opportunity, not ours. I support you pursuing it solo." She texted back, "You're going to regret this for the rest of your life." Thursday was when her best friend entered the picture. This woman has never liked me. She thinks my girlfriend is settling by dating a civil engineer instead of someone in fashion or tech or whatever industry impresses her. She texted me a paragraph that included the phrases small-town mentality, holding her back, and she's destined for bigger things than you can offer. I responded, she's free to go pursue those bigger things. That's literally what I'm saying. Best friend, you don't deserve her. Me, I agree. She deserves someone who wants to move to Paris. I am not that person. She didn't respond. Friday, the interview day, my girlfriend flew out for the final interview. She'd booked the flight weeks ago, apparently. Weeks. She'd been planning this for at least a month, maybe longer, and hadn't said a word to me. The entire time she was picking out Easter outfits and confirming dinner plans with my mom, she had a plane ticket to a job interview in her email. She texted me from the airport. Last chance. Come with me. I didn't respond. She flew out, had the interview, and got the offer. She called me Sunday night, buzzing with excitement, and said the company was offering her a 2-year contract, relocation assistance, and a salary of 58,000 euros. She said, "This is really happening. Please, I need you with me." I said, "Congratulations. I'm genuinely happy for you, but I'm not coming." The line went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "So this is it? This is it. You realize I'm going to go anyway, right? With or without you." I know, and you should. This is what you've always wanted. Go get it. Don't pretend to be supportive when you're abandoning me. I'm standing still. You're the one leaving. That's not abandonment. That's geography. She hung up. I sat on my couch for a long time. I wasn't angry. I was sad. Because somewhere under all the manipulation and the entitlement and the ambush and the pitch deck, there was a real person I'd loved for 2.5 years. And she was about to move to another continent. And I wasn't going with her. And both of those things were the right call. And it still felt terrible. Update 2, 11 days later. Last update. I'll keep it as tight as I can. After she accepted the offer, things moved fast. Her start date was August 1st. She had about 10 weeks to wrap up her life here. Sublet her apartment, sell furniture, pack, get her visa sorted. I offered to help with practical stuff, carrying boxes, driving her to the consulate, because despite everything, I'm not the kind of person who watches someone struggle with logistics out of spite. She accepted the help, which I think surprised both of us. For about 2 weeks, we existed in this strange liminal space where we were broken up but still functioning like a team. I helped her disassemble her IKEA bed frame. She gave me back the spare key to my condo. We didn't talk about us. We talked about shipping timelines and what size suitcases are allowed on international flights. Then she tried one more time, and this one almost got me. She came over on a Saturday evening. She brought takeout from the Thai place we used to order from every Friday. She sat on my couch, and we ate, and she put on a show we used to watch together. And after about an hour of feeling like the last 2.5 years hadn't just detonated, she said, "What if I told the company I needed 6 more months? We could figure out together. A plan. A real one." I looked at her. She looked sincere. For about 30 seconds, I considered it. Not because 6 months would change anything. I wasn't going to move to Paris in 6 months any more than I was going to move in 6 weeks. But because she looked like the woman I fell in love with. Sitting on my couch, eating pad ki mao, asking me to try. I said, "You should go on time. Delaying will hurt you professionally. And 6 months isn't going to change my answer." She nodded. Slowly. She finished her food. She left the leftover in my fridge. She hugged me at the door, the first time we'd touched in 3 weeks, and said, "I wish you were braver." I said, "I wish you'd asked me first." She left. That was the last time we were alone together. Now, here's the final stretch, and this is where her family came in hard. Her mom called me. First time ever. This woman had always been pleasant enough at holidays, but we'd never spoken one-on-one. She called me at work on a Tuesday and said, "I understand you're letting my daughter go to France alone. I'm not letting her or stopping her. She made a decision. I made mine. She made that decision for both of you. Because she's a go-getter. She's always been the planner in her relationships. You were supposed to step up." She planned to move to another continent without telling me and announced it at Easter dinner in front of my grandmother. That's not go-getting. That's ambushing. She's going to be alone in a foreign country because you're too stubborn to compromise. The compromise was her not applying for international jobs without having a conversation with her partner first. That compromise was available months ago. She skipped it. Her mom told me I was small and that her daughter outgrew me. I told her I wished her daughter the best, and ended the call. Her dad, and this is the part that genuinely annoyed me, sent me an email. A formal email. To my personal address. He wrote that he was disappointed in my decision and that in my generation, men followed their women to the ends of the earth. He said my inability to adapt was a character flaw and that I was letting comfort kill ambition. I didn't respond. What do you say to a man who thinks being unwilling to abandon your career, your family, and your home because your girlfriend applied for a job behind your back constitutes a character flaw? There's no email long enough. Her best friend posted a vague story that said, watching a queen move to Paris while a man sits on his couch. Levels. I muted her. The week of the flight, I drove her to the airport. I'd offered earlier, and she'd taken me up on it. 3 large suitcases. 1 carry-on. A backpack stuffed with adapters, her French phrasebook, and snacks for the flight. The drive was mostly quiet. She played a playlist she made, French cafe music, some indie stuff, a couple of songs we used to listen to together. She was nervous. I could tell by the way she kept checking her passport in her bag, even though she'd checked it 4 times already. At the departure's drop-off, I pulled over and helped her unload the suitcases. We stood on the curb. She had sunglasses on even though it was overcast, which meant she was probably crying behind them. I was holding it together through sheer force of jaw clenching. She said, I really thought you'd come. I said, I know. Not even to try it? For 6 months. You deserve to be asked. I deserve to be asked. That's where this broke. Not at the airport. Back at that Easter dinner. She hugged me. Long, tight. The kind of hug that has weight to it. Then she grabbed her bags and walked through the sliding doors and didn't look back. I stood there for about 15 seconds, then got in my truck and drove home. I cried in the truck. I'll admit that. Not the whole drive. Just about 10 minutes somewhere on the highway when a song came on that she used to sing off-key in the passenger seat. I let it happen, then I turned the radio off and drove the rest of the way in silence. It's been about 3 weeks since she left. She's in Paris. She posted a photo on Instagram from her apartment. Tiny, beautiful, a window with shutters overlooking some street with a bakery on the corner. She looked happy. Genuinely happy. I double-tapped the photo because I'm not petty enough to unfollow someone for chasing their dream. I'm just not dumb enough to chase it with them when they never asked me to pack. My life hasn't changed much. I go to work. I review drainage plans. I coach Little League on Saturdays. I had dinner at my mom's house last Sunday, and she made pot roast and didn't mention my ex once, which is her way of being supportive. My brother asked if I was good. I said yeah. He said good, and passed the bread. That's how my family works. No speeches, just bread. I'm not going to lie and say I don't think about it. I think about it a lot. Not the Paris part. I still don't want to move to Paris. But her part. The way she smelled like vanilla and coffee in the mornings. The way she'd organize my spice rack without asking and then act offended when I couldn't find the cumin. The way she'd fall asleep during movies and then insist she was awake the whole time. I miss the person. I don't miss the pattern. Because here's what I've realized since she left. The Paris thing wasn't an isolated event. It was the biggest example of something she'd been doing the entire relationship. Deciding things and presenting them as done deals. She picked our vacation spots. She decided when we'd visit her parents versus mine. She chose the restaurants, the weekend plans, the social calendar. And I went along with most of it because the stuff was minor and it made her happy, and I'm easygoing by nature. But easygoing has a limit, and that limit is apparently Easter dinner at my mother's table. I got a text from her last week. First one since she left. It said, "The croissants here are as good as people say. I think you would have liked it." I wrote back, "I'm glad you're happy. You deserve this." She sent a heart emoji. I put my phone down and went back to a drainage plan for a new subdivision that's been giving me trouble for 2 weeks. The pipe sizing was wrong, and I had to recalculate the flow rate for a retention basin. It took the rest of the evening. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't Paris. But it was mine, and I chose it, and nobody announced it at a dinner table without my permission. That's the whole story. Thanks for reading. Make your own decisions. And if someone ever stands up at your family dinner and announces a life change you didn't agree to, finish your plate first. The food's good, and you're going to need the energy later.